Hey guys, this is Ron Story. I want to welcome you to the 3 p.m. speaker co-working sponsored by Speaker Hub. I am Ron Story, your faithful host of the 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 7 o'clock meeting. This is where we help speakers from around the world to get booked on more stages, share their message, or learn how to get booked on more stages because they're just starting out or they may be experienced. Our whole thing is just we got to get you on more stages. So we're here to answer any questions, do a little bit of teaching, but mostly doing motivating and encouraging for you to keep up the fight of getting on more stages. So it's good to see everybody. Robin is here for the first time. Good to see you, Bart. Rhonda, is always good to see you. Angela, Andrea. Well, we got Angela Lewis here, who's the head of operations. And we got Andrea Nieves, who's always hiding, who is over our data. And so if you're upset with the data that you see in Speaker Hub, blame Andrea, responsible for all the conferences and the associations. And then, we gang in here today. We got Juliana that joined us. We Speaker Hub deep at 3 o'clock. Good to see you, Juliana. Glad you joined us. Juliana is does a lot of our marketing and data analytics. Robin, if you want to introduce yourself to the folks here on the call, it's a ritual of ours where everybody introduces themselves the first time, and we won't bother you with it in the future. So,
Hi, I'm Robin Harris. I live in Orlando, Florida, and I came, I guess, this way through the challenge about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so just trying to gain a more understanding and be like you guys.
that's cool. Yeah. So, yeah, Robin was a part of the uh, Black National Speakers Association challenge that Speaker Hub sponsored. We provided everyone with a 30-day trial of Speaker Hub. So they got to try out Speaker Hub at the time for being a part of the challenge because you can't send pitches if you don't have a machine to send pitches. And it was only a 3-day challenge. So today the winners were announced, and Robin came in at number 6 out of 49 people who participated in the pitching part. There were about 300 people that participated in the challenge, but all of them didn't take the steps of actually starting the pitch. So, yeah, so high five to Robin for getting 6th place and starting the pitch. And she did all that within like the 3 days because she forgot to enter the code to get her 30-day trial. So she gets to put in the code now to get another 30 days of Speaker Hub. So any other particular questions? Rhonda, you got any questions? Always good to see you. Bart, you got anything you working on you want to talk about?
Great to see you too, Ron. I don't have any questions, but I have to say I come back to as many of these as I can because I always learn something. So
That's a good thing.
yes, and if I come up with a question, I will let you know. But so far, so good. Thank you.
All right, we're here for you. Let me know.
Thank
Let me know. All right. Looks like we got someone new by the name of Stan. Stan has joined us. Good to see you, Stan. Nice to meet you. I'm Ron Story with Speaker Hub. This is our normal 3 o'clock meeting. It overlaps with our regular meeting, but I figured we could do this here together. This is our normal meeting. We do it 3 o'clock every day with members from around the world. We do this at 12, 3 p.m., and 7 p.m. Eastern. So, Stan, you want to introduce yourself? Stan, can you hear me? Stan? No? I don't know if his audio is working. Okay, maybe, let's see. Let me reach out to him. Stan, can you hear me? No? Okay. I don't know if he can hear me or if his video's paused. He's moving. So, yeah, we can't hear you. I don't know if his microphone is properly connected, but this is what we do every day. We ask speakers to join, to tell us about what they're working on, seeing how we can help them. It's also a time for new speakers to ask our current members questions, or people who have worked with Speaker Hub for a little bit. You can ask any questions you have about how we get people booked. But once Stan gets his audio, let's see. All right, let's try it now. Let's see. Let's see if we can unmute. Go ahead and unmute, Stan. Let's see. Let's ask him to unmute and see. Say something. Come on. Oh, he's still. Hey.
Yes. Sorry about
Let
that.
there be life. Stan, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to us? I'm Ron from Speaker Hub. I'm here with Angela, Andrea, Juliana. We're all on the Speaker Hub team, along with some of our clients, Bart and Rhonda. So if you want to introduce yourself, this will be cool.
My name is Stan Holden, and I'm a jack of all trades, depending on what day you get me. I'm a cartoonist, sales guy, an author, and a speaker.
Okay. What do you speak about?
Mostly I train and speak about my book, Giving Candy to Strangers.
Okay. And how many gigs did you do in 2024? You speaking a lot? Is it part-time?
2024,
full-time?
I did none, and that's part of why I'm here.
Okay.
I was just ramping up right before COVID, trying to get my video back in here. There we go.
Oh, you just turned it off.
I
Your
turned
video
it
was
off.
working just fine.
There we go. I was trying to.
Okay.
Right before COVID, I was ramping up. I did a really nice gig in Nashville in what year was that? Right after right before COVID, everything just took a dive, and I kind of put everything on hold. And then I did one gig since then, and now I've just moved to Arizona, and I'm kind of reorganizing and ramping up my potential speaking gigs.
Okay. And how are you getting booked now? Are you doing outreach on your own? Are you working with an agency? What's your game plan?
At this point, none. I'm literally just I'm restarting the train, which is as a matter of fact, I believe you're on my LinkedIn, and
Okay.
I think that's where the ad came up or something. I can't remember
I
exactly.
think you may have joined one of our groups, because we
Yeah, that
have
might
the
have been
Need a
what it was.
Speaker, Be a Speaker group on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it might have been it.
And then, yeah, usually if you join that group, I usually send you a message like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Gonna welcome you in. So
Here, we'll do this. There we go.
yep. No, that's
So
cool.
that's my
Yeah,
story.
that's cool. So this is what we do. We help speakers to get booked on different stages, whether it's a paid speaking gig, a podcast, or press coverage. That's what we specialize in. That's how we help everyone. Whether you're a new speaker or an experienced speaker, we believe that everybody should have the equal opportunity to go after the stages they want. Now, we don't guarantee you're going to get booked. I don't think anybody can. If people guarantee you something like that, you should probably run the other way, because they're lying. But what we do, we guarantee you the opportunity. You can at least pitch your products and services to those event hosts so that they can decide if they want to have you. Yeah, any particular questions you have, Stan, now that I understand a little bit more about you?
Well, first of all, are you in Phoenix? Just out of curiosity.
No, I live in Medellin, Colombia. I live in South America.
Oh, I don't know where I came up with Phoenix. I was going to say you're not too far from me. I'm in Prescott, but not that that matters.
Yeah, I'm a little bit further south.
Yeah, that's a little. If I hop in the car now, I'll get there by dinner time. I'm not sure I have questions per se. Uh, I was, gosh, I was on a speakers bureau about 5 years ago for a while. I can't remember the name of it. Was it Easy Speakers or something? Or is that your, I can't remember which speakers bureau it was. And I do know you get what you put into it. I realize that. I'm at the early stages right now. I'm more or less just putting the pieces together to get the train rolling again, because at one point it was rolling. And you know, I had the carpet pulled out from under me, so to speak.
Mhm.
And so I'm not quite sure what to do next other than what I've done in the past.
Okay, so I'll show you. I'll show you what separates us from everyone else. So our main thing is, let's see, let me pull this off of here. I'm on the wrong pages. Right. So basically, we're the largest in the world when it comes to speakers bureaus. We have over 63,000 speakers that use at least one of our products, whether that's our speaker page or our outbound systems. 63,000 speakers use us. Every 51 minutes, somebody gets a meeting with the meeting planner, right? So, in a week, we probably book 200 gigs, right? But we do it in a way that is a bit unique because I used to be an agent. So what I learned is there was really no difference between the speakers who were really famous and the speakers that weren't. It was just that the speakers who were famous were more consistent than the ones that weren't, right?
That makes sense.
So a lot of speakers rely on inbound. They're waiting on someone to find them. They're not doing any outbound marketing. They're not generating any leads in any way. So they're saying, hey, I'm only going to speak when someone invites me. And then they also add another constraint. I'm only going to speak when someone invites me and they're offering to pay me. Right? So now they've boxed themselves into waiting and being expensive. But when I looked at the speakers who were getting booked the most, they were waiting, but they were also proactively pitching themselves. Right? So they were on all different types of media. So Stan or Robin, if you were to think of your top 5 favorite thought leaders or speakers, Stan, I'll ask you, how many of them have you heard speak live and in person?
Gosh, that's a good question. Maybe 2.
Yeah, right. The rest of them, you probably heard them on a podcast, you bought a
Yeah,
book,
sure.
or you saw them on YouTube or some other social media, or someone mentioned them to you and let you hear a little bit about them, right? But that means you got caught up in their flywheel, right? So with what you're doing, you probably don't want to just focus on paid conferences because you're leaving 75% of the other space out there, right? So if we think of podcasts, I mean, there's 3.5 million podcasts that record on a weekly basis. There aren't 3.5 million conferences that have an event on a yearly basis. So you can only imagine how much larger and how much more reach you can have just by being a guest on podcast. But then there's 209,000 associations that we have that have a monthly meeting, right? So you had the 3.5 million podcasts that record weekly, along with the 209,000 associations that have a monthly meeting where they usually need a speaker. And then you add that to the 45,000 conferences that we have, right? Along with the 170,000 media publications. There's this whole world of opportunity that is missed if you only focus on the conferences. But where did you live before you moved to Arizona?
I was in Southern California,
Right.
Long Beach
So
specifically.
all of the people who knew you in Southern California, the people in Arizona, they don't know you, right? So you got to rebuild that presence in
Correct.
that area, so that they can find you. And that's what outbound does. So that's what we do. We help people to get found via inbound and outbound outreach, right? Any questions about that so far? Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense.
Yep.
I
That's
think
what
you were
separates
very
us.
articulate at explaining it too.
Thank you. Yeah, I practice 3 times a day. I get to talk about this on top of my 20 other meetings I have scheduled. So we walk through it. But no matter how good I am at explaining it, it still comes down to, does it work? Right? So when someone comes in and they're going to search, and I can pick someone off this page like Benjamin Kelly. If someone comes in and they're searching for Benjamin Kelly in Google, this has been here, right? You see that photo? Well, there's a whole bunch of other bins, right? So if we didn't see this photo, do we know which one to pick?
Correct.
Right. So what ends up happening is that when a speakers bureau searches for someone, because they have common names, they always put speaker behind them. Right. And then what comes up? There he is right there. That's the same Benjamin Kelly that we're looking for. Right. So that's one of the values of one of our products, which is that speaker page, is that we're going to show up when somebody searches for you. They're not going to find your evil twin brothers. They're going to find the right Ben Kelly. Now, he's here, but they wouldn't know this, right? And all these other Instagrams are going to other people. So the value of being in Speaker Hub is that we can make sure that when they search for you, they find you, right? We want them to find these two Ben Kellys, right? And we want it to be ranked up high. The second way that we help is through doing outreach. Here's the magic. When you put in your basic information in which you see it says, I help speakers to get booked on these things. Let's say I help chefs to make New York style hot dogs using chicken instead of beef or pork, right? Now, everybody knows that's not what I do, but I can put this into our AI. It's going to go and look at my bio, look at my website, the same way that I did when I was an agent months ago. And Ange used to have to go and look at people's LinkedIn and write their little bio when she was going to pitch them out. We now have created software that does that for you. So the software, give it about 5 more seconds, it's going to rewrite my bio here about me being a chef. Passionate speaker in Medellin with a unique niche in the culinary world. I specialize in guiding chefs to create the perfect New York style hot dog using chicken as a flavorful alternative to traditional beef or pork. Well, now that I've written that bio, I got to match to the right podcast. So now it started to give me the chef podcast I should go on. Just like I was doing as an agent, now I can come in and talk to this guy about how I can be a great guest on his podcast, showing him how to sell $20 hot dogs. Make sense? So look,
Sure.
no hands, just like I used to do in the past, writing the pitches, looking at the podcast. Our software now does all of that evaluation for me.
Can I interject something?
Of course.
Or
Yep. Go ahead.
one of my dilemmas is how I got into speaking in the first place. It's way too long of a story here. However, I was thrust into a leadership position in a network marketing company. And I was speaking in front of 3,000 people. And we all of a sudden were in 40 countries. Although I wasn't getting to go to all those countries, I was really wetting my whistle in terms of the speaking. And it was great. And I learned a lot of things. I learned what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to say, how to present myself, all of that. And one of the issues is I didn't have, nor do I now even have any real good video footage of myself speaking. For instance, if you go to my speakers page on my actual website, it looks fairly good and somewhat impressive. However, I don't call it a speaker's reel. I call it a speaker's promo, that sort of thing. So that's one of the things I know I need to take care of sooner than later. And it's not easy to do unless you have an actual gig. Yes, you can go and fake it and get somebody to film you and all of that business. But that's one of the hurdles I'm dealing with at the moment.
Yep. So what are your topics? What's your main keynote around?
Well, what it had started out is my book, Giving Candy to Strangers. It's technically called Growing Your Business Can Be as Fun and Easy as Giving Candy to Strangers. And it's 52 ways to create abundance through heart-centered sales. I know that's a long-winded thing. That's why we call it Giving Candy to Strangers. It's a bestseller. It was in Costco at once, sold over 30,000 copies. And I have a training that goes with that, which is a deep dive into how to use that philosophy to not only make connections, but also to help others and, by default, help yourself. The more you give, the more you get back, sort of thing, kind of the golden rule. And through that, so when I speak on the training, I have different areas. I have that one single area. Through my creative direction career, my entire career, that's technically what I was, my whole career was a visual communicator. I would go into companies and I would teach the quote suits how to loosen their proverbial tie and learn to think more creatively and get outside of their box. And that's one of the other things I speak on. There's a couple others too, but it really depends on what the company is. For instance, if I go to an event.
So let me share with you how we can help, right?
Mhm.
So a couple of things that we always suggest is with that flywheel concept is when you're reintroducing yourself back into a market, they
Mhm.
want to see recent relevant footage of you speaking, or they want to at least hear your formats in a recent modality. So as we mentioned, we use podcasts as a way for you to get back out there and people say, oh, he was on this podcast. He did this. He did this. So now when you want to get that gig for the reels, you send those recent podcast interviews to the local association, right? So in Phoenix, I guarantee you Arizona has insurance. And if you're doing sales, every insurance group would bring you in to talk about insurance or real estate in Arizona.
Mhm.
All of these associations would bring you in to come and talk about something. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Now, the great thing about it is that we have a framework that we call 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 quarters. And I put up 3 fingers, but it's 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 quarters, which is it takes about 2 weeks to get booked on a podcast in between you getting booked, getting it recorded, and it coming out.
Mm-hmm.
You're usually going to be booking an association 2 months ahead of time. So they already have their speaker for March. They probably already talking with people for April. So you probably could speak at one of these associations in May for sure, or at least be the reserve for one of their upcoming meetings. Now, the reason why that's super duper 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 important is because that's when you go in with your phone on a tripod and your son or your nephew or your wife or your daughter, they got the other one recording you giving the speech, and you tell them, hey, don't turn this camera around. It shows that there's 15 people in here. I need just the content so that I can turn it into a speaker reel, right? And then
Mhm.
afterwards, you take the same thing and your son puts up the phone and he says, hey, what'd you think about Stan's presentation? Oh, Stan was great. Stan talked about this, blah, blah, blah. Stan is amazing. Now you got a speaker reel. Now, let me show you a great example of this because people think they need all of this fancy stuff, but in reality, you don't. So we go here to Vernice or more. Vernice has a great web page, beautifully designed, right? Now look at this. She's impactful on a close shot. They don't have to show the audience to make her point.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I could film this same shot with an iPhone sitting in the front row at that event. And then in editing, make it even more drilled in. Now, she happens to be in a larger room of people, but I don't need 19 angles to have it to make a good speaker reel. So that's the part of the speaking part. But here's the other part is she inspired, she lifted, she encouraged. I highly recommend.
Ron is pretty low.
Oh, my
We
bad.
can hear
Yeah,
it.
okay.
well.
I didn't share the sound. But what I'm trying to show is basically you can film one of these at one event because all you want is you interacting with
Was beyond measurable, and we would have her back
feedback from
year in and day out every year.
When I think about our mission,
Does that make sense? So
Yeah,
that is done at the association level. this
Now,
interview
I
can be done-
have that sort of footage. I just don't have any footage of my actually speaking. Although on the video itself, I do have recordings from some radio shows that I did.
Yeah, but just go do association gigs to get the
Yeah.
speaking part done. And you know, the value that you'll get out of that. Number one, it'll reintroduce you to the stage. You know, I can imagine Michael Jordan when he retired in 93 or
Mhm.
92 or whatever, and he went to play baseball. He just went straight back to the gym and went, hey, yo, we got a game tomorrow. I'm just going to show up. No, he had to go and work it out and get
Mhm.
his win back and things of that sort. So if you haven't been on the stage since pre-COVID, which was 5 years ago,
Mhm.
right? There's some cobwebs you probably need to work out anyway.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I've done one since then, but right after COVID. But yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, again, imagine I take 5 years off and I do one gig.
No, you're
And I'm
right.
competing against
totally
Bart,
get
who's
that.
speaking all the time, or AJ, who's speaking all the time. They just have the webs are not there for them, right?
Sure.
Because they're constantly exercising those muscles. So we're a group of people that believe in showing your work, and we just got to professional speakers speak. That's why they're professionals, because they speak more than the amateurs, right? So we're really big on trying to get you on podcasts, local associations, and turning those into the conferences, you know, and having that go all the time. Because nobody's speaking, most people aren't doing conferences every week, right? They
Mhm.
may be doing conferences a month, one conference a month, but they're filling in the weekly gigs with the local associations.
Mhm.
And then they may be on podcasts maybe once or twice a week also to build that flywheel momentum. Sharon, good to see you. Glad you came back. Glad we didn't scare you away. You know, good to see you. But does that make sense, Stan?
Sure.
So it's that flywheel of momentum. And again, you got to remember, 2 out of your 5 people were the only 2 that you heard speak live. The rest of them, you got caught up in a flywheel effect of what they
Mhm.
were doing. And that's how we help you. Our systems help you with getting booked on all of those stages, media outlets, conferences, all of that. These 2 things here are probably the biggest missed opportunities for speakers: podcast guesting and media. The reason being is that by being in the media, you could almost double your speaking fee just by being a writer for a popular publication, right? And I'll show you a great example of this is one of my business partners, Kamanzi Constable is,
Yeah, I know Kamanzi.
right?
Yeah.
Well, Kamanzi and I speak probably about the same number of times a year, maybe 3 or 4 at the most. But Kamanzi makes most of his money from writing.
Mhm.
But because he writes for all of these different places, guess what? When he does show up to speak, he ends up getting $10, $15, $20,000 because of that credential. They're like, well, dude, he writes for the Wall Street Journal.
Credibility. Yeah.
Exactly. But people leave that on the table and they don't realize that these publications are paying $1 to $2 a word for every article that he writes. So we show you how to get, you know, regular income from that too. You're a thought leader. If all you're thinking about is speaking, you're leaving probably 70% of your revenue on the table. And that's not just you, Stan, that's any speaker.
No,
There's
I
so
get
much
that.
more money on the table in sharing your thoughts in other modalities other than just from the stage.
I'm working on my next book. I've got a ways to go, and I'm doing quite a few interviewing others for the book. It's about resilience.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I'm gearing up now to get all the pieces in place. So when I finally release the book, which is still months away, but you know,
Yeah, let me give you a piece of advice. What's your favorite? What was the last movie you saw?
God, I watched one last night. What was the name of it? The One We Love or something. I can't remember the name of it. I saw it last night, and then over the weekend I saw Only the Brave about the hotshot firefighters in Prescott here.
Okay. So let's go look these up. Right. Only the Brave. Is that it?
Mhm. Yes.
Right. I can't spell.
There it
Only
is.
the Brave.
Josh
That's
Brolin.
Josh Brolin. And when was the release date of this?
That I'm not sure. It was a few
Oh, it's
years ago.
older movie. This one,
Yeah, it's a true story. Great movie.
2017.
Yeah.
Right. So the release date was October 8th, 2017. Right. And let's go here. So look at when the first trailer came out. July 19th. Right.
Okay.
What most speakers do is they will wait until the book is released
Mm-hmm.
to try to promote the book. But everything you've ever bought was promoted way before it came out. So the movie, they didn't wait until the movie was in theaters to start running ads and
No, I get that. I'm a huge proponent of that. My first book, I actually sold to a publisher before I wrote it because of how I marketed it.
Mhm.
So I was actually marketing it before I wrote it. So I'm because technically that's what I do. So I totally agree with that and understand it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Just, and I'm glad you mentioned that because the other folks in the audience, a lot of my answers always say this. They're not for the person who asked the question. It's kind of for the rest of the audience. So,
Sure.
just want to make sure you didn't take offense saying that. I wasn't saying you
Oh,
were inexperienced, but other
Oh,
people
no,
were
no,
thinking
no,
about
I don't,
putting out their book.
no, I don't take offense to anything. You can ask my
Okay.
ex-wife that. Don't get me started.
I believe that one alone, bro.
Yeah.
I believe that one alone. I ain't touching it.
Yeah.
She can have half of your stuff, not half
Yeah.
of mine.
Oddly enough, she's sitting here texting me right now about our son. Anyway,
But that's what we do. So this is how you build that flywheel, right? And most speakers, their income looks like this. It's
mhm,
full of ebbs and flows, right? And I'm a firm believer because this is how our business survived. Had podcasting been promoted to speakers more prior to the pandemic, most speakers wouldn't have lost the momentum because they would have still been on podcast,
mhm,
right? But everybody focused on I want to be on stage, I want to get paid, and they forgot, no, I want to be heard. That's the
mhm,
first MO of a speaker is you need to be heard. Even before you're paid, if nobody's hearing you, they don't have the reason to pay you. So I'm constantly trying to get heard. I'm constantly going on podcasts and just like, yo, I'll show up anywhere. I was talking with Robin. She was like, yeah. I said, well, how'd you hear about us? So, oh, you showed up on a Facebook Live. Yep. Somebody sent me a text and said, can you come in 20 minutes? Hold my beer. I'll be there. Right. I'm gonna go show up. Right. So, but this is what we do. We help people to get booked. The flywheel is something I teach every single day because we always have new speakers that come in and join us. The well, I shouldn't say older. The more veteran speakers that are in our group that are on here, they're usually pitching in the background. So this is their working time when they go in and they send their 20 or 30 pitches. They may be listening to a half of the stuff I've said, but Bart can teach this flywheel if I asked him to, because he hears it twice a day for 2 hours. And AJ and Ange and Juliana, Andrea, they can teach this. Rhonda, especially Sharon Brown, the self-carepreneur, they can teach the flywheel because they hear it so much, but mainly because they use it and they're getting the results from it. Bart was telling a funny story the other day. He said, nobody had ever heard of me until I started getting on all these podcasts. Now, all these folks wondered if I'm their competition. And, that's a good thing to have when, especially in the space that he's in, where it's like a lot of those guys aren't good marketers. So when they see this guy that's always on podcasts talking about the topic, it kind of shakes them up a bit. But that's what he's supposed to do, right? So we want you to be a master of your domain. Sharon, Robin, Rhonda, AJ, you should own your space, right? And the only way you do that is just outwork everybody else on the promotion side. You're all trustworthy. You're all likable. You're just unknown, right? So how do you get more known? You tell people. Sharon, you got any questions? Oh, look at that. Right on
Of
cue.
course I do.
Ooh, I can see the future. You see, Sharon, boom, hand goes up. Right on cue. My
Exactly. I'm
spidey
gonna
sense
show
is
up. I have
working.
questions. I'm working the system. I'm really enjoying it. So my question was, I've been working the podcast, that first tier there.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that the system kind of tracked the what was sent and follow up, but it's appearing that not so much. And then also my other question was, I was also thinking that the responses would come back into the system. So I just wanted to get some clarity on that. Like, is there a way for it
Yep,
to
absolutely.
somewhat track there, or what types of thoughts do you have in terms of like just like a really good tracking approach?
Yeah.
Because I've been doing the pitches and I'm making sure that I'm doing the follow up, and I just want to be very systematic about it. And because some of them are coming and I guess I don't know if this is a question or not, but I'm just curious. Some of them come back and they have the applications and things like that, and so you have to like go a little deeper into the loop. So
Yeah.
just wanted to ask that.
So first off, I want to let's give Sharonda a high five. She got fourth place in the pitch challenge. You know, we got two of the winners. We gave the top 10. The top 10 get a list of TEDx talks that we have. I think that's what Lethea gave away, but I think it's a list of 1,000 TEDx organizers. But Robin came in sixth place and Sharon came in fourth. But let me answer your question. So whenever you send a pitch, it's going to appear here in the mailbox, right? And
Yes.
then, so this is the ones that you're waiting to send. And these are the ones that you would be following up with. And once you go to follow up, as you saw, you can send the follow up email, right? But all of your replies come directly back into your regular Gmail or Microsoft account. So when you read the one and it says, hey, here's how you apply, because you probably spend more time in your Gmail than you do in SpeakerHub, right? So when you get that reply, you know what you say? Let me go over into SpeakerHub and mark it as yes, I got a response.
Oh, got it.
Right?
Because I did see that. Okay,
Yep.
got
And
it.
then
So
underneath, you put in the notes. I spoke with the host. We set for March 1st. Boom. Once you hit yes, you got a response. Guess what happens? It no longer stays in sent. It's now in replied.
oh, I see. Okay,
So now I got a
it.
reply. I've been talking with the person. Now we got to figure out if I'm going to get booked or not. Does that make sense? So now what do
Yes,
we ask? Did you get booked?
got it.
Right? And then it moves it over here. So the tracking is there. Right? But the first contact usually isn't in SpeakerHub. It happens in your regular inbox where you pretty much live. Right? Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, thank
Yep.
you for that.
Oh yeah. And then I don't know what your other question was. I think that solved all of them. No more questions. Next person. No, I'm just playing. Just kidding. What's the next? The other question was about what?
Oh, you still talking to me?
Yeah, well,
Oh, okay.
did that answer all of them? You said you had two
well,
questions.
I was just wondering about the application side of it,
So
and maybe some of the others.
yeah, that's
like
going to
when
be unique because every podcast has their own rules.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
You know,
And
it's
I guess
like
it just depends on how much you want to be on the podcast.
yeah,
You want.
exactly. I mean, I look at it from the perspective that it's like dating, right? You know, if I asked, yo, you know, Dad, how do I find a wife? And he gonna give me some advice. This is gonna be wrong because he ain't never dated the women I'm dating, right? But they all got different ways. One will go to coffee, one will go to dinner, one will want to go to the movies. But the key is if you want to go on the podcast and they give you an application, fill it out. If you don't want to go on it, don't fill it out. I mean, I don't really know what else to tell you. Like, because it's their rules. It's their podcast, their rules. And I can't say, well, Stan didn't make me fill out no application. Why is Angela making me fill out an application? Because it's Stan's house. And when I go to Stan's house, he may not make me take off my shoes. But Angela may say, hey, can you leave your shoes here? Right? And then I go to Bart's house. Bart say, leave your shoes here and put on these footies I got. So different people will have different rules based on wherever you're going. And we just got to respect the rules because it's them giving us a referral. Right?
Okay.
If you're going to refer me to 20 people, I'm following your rules. If you're going to refer me to
Right.
200 people, I'm really following your rules. If you're going to refer me to a couple thousand people, I may pay you to follow your rules. Right?
Great
Because
point.
I'm getting a referral from that host to that audience. How valuable is that? You know, it's not very valuable to people that aren't prepared. If you don't have the product or the service to maximize that referral, then yeah, that's a waste of time. You're just on there talking. They could have got their cousin to come on to do that. But if you got the products and the services to promote and to turn it into business for you, it's a win. Now, one thing I learned is you get paid from a speaking gig in 3 ways. You can get paid before you show up, meaning they already agreed to pay you as a speaker, right? But once you do that, they usually not gonna let you get paid the second way, which is at the event. They're like, yeah, we already paid you. Don't promote your products because we already paid you. Don't come selling from the stage. But sometimes they'll say, don't sell from the stage, but we'll give you a booth. Since we couldn't pay you the 10 grand you wanted, we'll give you 5 grand and let you have a booth in the back. And you can sell your books and products and services in the back. So now you're getting paid before and during the event. Is that fair, Sharon? And the third way you get paid is after the event. So when the event's over, they watch your TED Talk on YouTube and they call you and they ask you to come speak at their place, or they buy your book, or they come to your page and buy your software like they do with me, right? So I may not always get paid up front, but I'm gonna get paid. I promise you. I'm gonna figure out how to turn. I don't believe in free speech. Look, I'm gonna get paid every time I talk. So that's what we're looking at, right? We want to make sure you're getting paid in those 3 ways. Did that answer your question about, how to get booked for podcasts? But always want to leave with how do you get paid from those podcasts? Because if we really think about it, if we compare the podcast to a conference stage, what role does the podcast host play? Anybody want to guess?
Would it be the event planner?
Yeah, they're the event planner. But we don't think of it that way. Right? The podcast host is the event planner. The podcast is the stage. The audience is the people outside. The listeners is the audience. So at a free gig, how do you get paid? You got to get paid from the audience. So your products and services that you're offering on that podcast need to be appropriate for that audience to be able to come buy from you. Does that make sense? Bart, what were you going to say? I saw you karate chopping over there.
No, I didn't have anything. Sorry.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but does that make sense, Sharon? So a lot of times people will say, well, I want to go on a podcast, but they not paying. And I'm like, they are. They're just not paying up front. They're paying after the event. Unless it's live, that's when you can get paid during the event. If you like this, right? Like right now, there's live people on here that if they wanted to go buy Rhonda's items, they could. Y'all can go buy Rhonda stuff, or y'all can go buy AJ stuff. He's just not promoting it, but we could talk about products that can be sold live on the call. And then this is still going up on YouTube like a podcast, just like our other 95 of them that we put up every day, 3 a day. We put up 3 new episodes every single day. So some people watch those before they come meet with me. Does that make sense? That was their exposure to what we're doing. They end up saying, yes, I want to use SpeakerHub. You saw me in the challenge, right? And you're here. I won. That's it.
How did you
can
know
see-
I was going to ask about the recording? Thank you for that, because I was curious as to where these recordings were housed. So is
Speaker
that
co-working.
access for anyone?
Yeah, it's available for anyone.
Okay,
So
perfect.
you can go to speakercoworking.com, which is where you register to join, where you got this link from. And they're right here. You can see the one from yesterday is already up from last night. And all of them are there, all 93. Right? But they're on YouTube. So you go to the Speaker Hub page and we post these on YouTube every single day. And they're all broken down. Here's the cool thing. Sometimes people just have one topic that they want to find out about. So I can come in here and right here, we've already broken it down in the chapter so you can skip. Again, everybody don't want to hear the flywheel every freaking day. But I know we got new people, so I have to go over it every day. So in here, you can just skip to how to use AI or, why outreach and branding is key to getting gigs. Like you can skip to the topics in the conversation that are important to you. Does that make sense? So I think we did one yesterday that was like 2 hours and it was steaming. It was this right here. I think it was this one. We was on fire with this one. Is this from, let me make sure. I don't know what date it is, but I think, yeah, this is the one. This was a great call. Like, this was incredible. We went about an hour and a half into the future of Speaker Hub and where we're going and how we're helping speakers, right? So, yeah, you can find them there. Bart.
I was going to follow up on the question about the podcast and that they don't pay. It's
Upfront.
also a great brand. It's also a great branding tool. So if you told yourself if you had to pay for branding, how much would that branding cost? And you start adding all that up. But that's what that podcast is. Used the right way. And then your host is probably going to help you out by doing everything they can. You're going to have all your stuff in the show notes. And then once you start, I want to say getting out there, once they start appearing, and you reach out and you pitch again for another podcast, as soon as you pitch, they're looking you up. They're going to do their homework. And what they're going to find is your podcast. And that's why they're booking. That's why they're answering. They saw you on whatever, and they liked it and want you on their show.
100%. And here's a great example. We come over here, we type in Bart Womack. Bam. There he is, right? There it is. He got the big thing. Like, this is when you real, when you ain't got the little bitty pages, when this is him. No question. His Twitter, everything is highlighted, right? Big deal. You look up me, I got a little stamp. My photo like this big, right? But Bart is incredible, right? So we know he's in IMBD. It's no question who you're getting when you type in Bart, right? So that's what you want. But also when we click on videos, it's going to bring up different things that he's appeared on. That's what people are looking at. This is him on ABC and all these other different things. I don't know if that's him. Yep. So these are different things that different TV shows. They want to know that he is who he said he was. Nowadays on the internet, there's a lot of people faking, right? I type in my name, Ron Story Jr., bad parenting. What? That ain't Junior. That must be a different Ron Story because that ain't me. But you put me in and all you get is all these things about how to get booked and different podcasts that I was on talking about getting booked, right? Now, you notice I'm not as famous as Bart, so I don't have the huge highlight. You saw how they highlighted his photo, Sergeant Major, NBD. He got a Wikipedia page and everything. I got LinkedIn. I got LinkedIn and Instagram, and that's full of my daughter. But when they come down, they can see me talking about getting booked on stages. And then it's more of me as we keep going, right? And how did I get on here with this dude? Y'all know who this is? This is like a black billionaire dude. I must have liked something he said. This is, he played in the NBA for years. Let's see what post this is. How we get associated with each other? I have no idea. But hey, that is good company. They need to put me back next to him on every, what's his name? He owns the Coca-Cola bottling company.
Junior
NBA.
Richmond.
Junior Bridgman. He owned like 200 and something Wendy's and stuff. But yeah, when they look for Ron Story, they bring up Junior Bridgman. I'm going to take that every day. But I don't know why that's up there. You know what? I think this is a Speaker Up post or something that I may have posted something about him. But yeah, this is what we do. So you want to make sure that when someone Googles you, that they find you and they can see the work that you're doing, Sharon. Make sense? I'm just glad my OnlyFans didn't come up. That would have been horrible. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking, guys. Any other questions or comments about getting booked? We got 7 minutes left in this session of Speaker Co-working. Stan, hopefully this is helpful.
Very, very helpful, actually.
Letting you meet some of the people. This is what we do. We meet 3 times a day. Different people come in and out. Nobody's required to be here, but we, always want to let you know that we're here to answer any questions. We got to get more people on stages. We see Speaker Hub as the record company for speakers. We're like Motown for speakers. So we're just trying to promote our speakers to get them on more stages.
One more question. Well, it's not a question. You've already stated it, but I just want to, hear your take on it. What'd you say?
I'm joking. Go ahead.
Did you tell me to be quiet?
No. I was just playing. Go ahead.
So I wanted to go back to the we don't need all that stuff. How you state that, because I do tend to get caught into that like spiral of like, oh, all the things that you need. And I think one of the things in the pitch competition, I talked about like new photos, because I think that was one of the things that we talked about, like, photos and things like that. But what is your, I guess, overall, I guess I know you're thinking, but I've tried to, take the advice you said and just pitch.
So here's the cool thing. What did people do before the internet? Speakers were still speaking without PDF one sheets or any of that, right? They were still getting booked to speak. They just had to do it a different way. The internet didn't replace the television. The television didn't replace the radio. The radio didn't replace live conversations. It augmented it and gave us a different method. So those old ways still work, even if people aren't using them or they're not in fashion anymore. Does that make sense? So the reaching out without a speaker page is still effective, right? I'll show you an example of why. Right. So let me kind of get all this crap off of here, and I'm going to come over to Bellshake and go back in the time and show you all some. Again, we are a show your work company, so we're going to show you. Right. So let me come over here and I'm going to type in John Lawson. Now, John is one of our first customers from 2020 when I was just starting doing the booking for people. You can see January 17th, 2020. He was the first person that paid me $300 to reach out to 70 conferences for him. Charged him $5 a piece. He said, man, I'm going to just send you $300 and let's see what happens. So we reached out to 69 conferences. 34 of those 69 emails got opened. 6 of them were the wrong email addresses. 20 out of the 34 got replied to. Is that a good ratio? 2 out of every 3? We would go for that, right? And let's see who was replying. Out of the 20, 19 asked for more information. This was Moz.com, which is huge, Inc., TechCrunch, Forbes, TED, not TEDx. We reached out to the biggest conferences we could find at the time. Marketing Profs, Lean Startup, Business Innovation Factory. We were like, dude, let's just go for the big dogs. Right? Make sense? Is that proof? right? What do you think we said, Sharon? What was our magic pickup line? You gonna unmute? Tell us what you think.
I don't know, whatever John's expertise is.
Okay. Here's what we said. What a photo. What a link to his LinkedIn. Well, that's it. They don't even know his last name. They don't even know his last name. So when I tell people, like, you ain't got to send nothing. Like, if you could have one thing in business, I heard someone say this and I thought it was incredible. If you could have one thing, you can only pick one thing in business, what would you want? Any business in the world, what would you want? You have one feature. What would that one thing be? Like, I gotta have this. Everything else is maybe, but I need this one thing. An audience that's in pain. If I got a restaurant, I want hungry people. If I sell sales consulting like Stan, I want people that about to shut down unless they close some deals. Right? I need a starving audience. Guess what? I don't think y'all understand how easy it is. Stan, I want to ask you this. What percentage of leads tell you I want to buy before you even reach out to them? Is it the majority of them or is it few of them?
It's a few.
Would you prefer if you could only reach out to the people that says, I want to buy your services? Would you prefer to reach out to them or other folks?
Sure. Repetitiveness helps too, though.
Yep. But let me tell you the cool thing about, if I'm trying to sell someone on becoming a speaker, they may not even be interested in being a speaker. Does that make sense? They're problem unaware. Everybody in our database said, I'm looking for speakers. And yet y'all still don't want to reach out to them. They're the hottest leads you could ever have. They said, I'm paying money for speakers. And y'all still don't reach out to them. I'm like, well, dude, y'all can't compete with me because I'm reaching out to the people that don't even want my product and convincing them. The people who are asking for your services, you're saying, they ain't tell me. If they really wanted me to have it, they would bring it to me. Yeah, okay. Get up out of here with that. Every podcast host needs a guest. And they put it on their site. Watch this. Watch. Let me show you what they do. Because this is how we get it. Let's pick EO Fire. Let's go open up a new window. EO Fire. And you see you got the podcast right there. Boom. All right. But I can scroll down to the bottom over here. And hold on. This got all these daggone pop-ups. Some affiliate disclaimer. Contact. Boom. Guess what he got? Got the contact information right there. Phone number and everything. All on here. Info about being a guest. Visit this page. Oh, wow. They're actually looking for guests. I can come over here and I can fill out the application to be a guest. There it is. I ain't got to convince him, man. You know, you need guests on your podcast. He already knows it. Man, you're going to need speakers for your conference. They already know it. They already freaking know it. It's just our job to go and place the order. I don't know. Stan, the sales expert, already told y'all that warm leads are better than strange cold leads. We're giving you warm leads. These are event hosts who said they hire speakers. Make sense? Now, let me ask you another question. Sharon, do you accept free services?
Do I accept free services
Yeah,
from somebody giving me a service?
yeah.
I guess depending on what kind of service it is. I don't know.
Do you accept free services? If I'm going to the mall and you need to go to
Okay.
Walmart, which is right over by the mall,
Okay.
and your car was broke down, would you say, "Hey, Ron, can I ride with you? Can you drop me off at Walmart on the way over there?"
Would
you
I
do it?
say that?
Yeah, would you ever ask somebody that?
Yeah, maybe.
I've done that before. Yo, you going that way? Can you drop me off?
Okay.
I've done that before. Now I had the option of choosing Uber. I could have paid Uber the same $30, but if this person's going that way, they may give me a ride. Does that make sense? Now, guess what that person has the option to do? They can say, "Yeah, I'll drop you off, but I'm gonna need some gas money." If you ever grew up in the hood, you heard that before. I need some gas, man. That's a long way. I need some gas in my tank. Man, I ain't got no gas to be going all the way over there. Right? So they had the option to ask me to pay them. And then I got a decision to make. Most speakers don't get paid because they don't even know what to ask for. So they go and they offer their services for free, and they get mad when the event planner takes their services for free. Because you didn't set a fee for what you're supposed to get paid for that gig. So you can't get mad when somebody don't pay you to speak because you ain't ask them to pay. Make sense? Sharon, what's your speaking fee? There it is. That's a free ride, guys. Anybody?
No, it's not free.
Sharon Glover. She ready? You see what I mean? Look, let me show you something. Uber, when I open up Uber and I put in a destination, it showed me the fee before I even get to pick it. Most speakers don't know their fee. So when they get asked, they beatbox. She sounds like Bobby McFerrin. Don't worry. Boop, 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 boop. That's the difference. Right? If you don't know the fee, don't be mad when nobody wants to pay you. I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying somebody else is out there watching this and they're hearing it and they're wondering, man, why ain't never getting paid?
So
'Cause you
for
ain't never
those
set a
listening,
price.
I do have a fee.
Okay, what is it?
Now I'm actually right now coming out of consulting, so I'm building up. That's one of the reasons I'm doing the podcast.
Okay, what's the number?
But my minimum,
What's the number?
the 3,500
Okay, cool. Would you do it for 2,000?
for the right audience.
Okay, all right, cool. Just wondering, just seeing how flexible you are. Right? Right? One piece of advice I got, no matter what number you say, they still gonna negotiate it. So you may as well pick a good number and stick with it. Any other questions, guys, about anything? Was this helpful, Sharon? I wasn't picking on you. I just wanted to make sure that when we leave here, that we all know that we got to set a price for our services if you want to be paid that price. It's your option to go lower than that. Like you said, for the right audience, I'll go lower. But you can't force someone who is willing to take you for free. You can't negotiate it passive aggressively. Say, man, all they offered me was this. Well, you said you'll take whatever they give you. So that's what they gave you. Got it? So any other thoughts? Any other ideas? Rhonda, again, good to see you. Robin, good to see you. AJ, Sharon, Bart, Sharon, Stan, we're gonna see you again, man, or we ran you away?
Yeah, I was just going to add something on your last comment there.
Oh, go ahead.
In my design career as a creative director, what I would often do, instead of giving a lump number on a cost, I would, of course, come up whatever that lump number is, and then I would itemize other things into it. And that was a way to, quote, negotiate to a certain extent or make the client feel like they were part of the process and they had some control. And therefore I could lower or even raise prices a little bit based on that. Then I think the same could apply in this case.
Oh, I think that's incredible. So like they ask for the thing, you say, well, it comes with a workshop, it comes with this, it comes with that.
Exactly.
Like, well, no, we don't want all that. Okay, well, what's your budget? Oh, my budget only $5,000. Okay, I'm gonna take the workshop and all the other stuff off, and I got $5,000 instead of $3,500. That is genius. This is why we got Stan the salesman on here, man. I mean, I would have never thought about doing that. Emmy, nice to meet you. You want to introduce yourself to everybody? Tell us what you do.
Hi, yeah, my name is Imi. I am the operations manager for a company called NextGen Wealthy. My husband and I both run the business together. We focus on real estate, as well as coaching as well. I actually have a master's degree in psychology myself, and I focus on trauma and adolescence, education. And my husband focuses on speaking. So.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So I'm Ron. I am the head of speaker booking at SpeakerHub. I'm here with Angela, who's over operations, and Andrea is responsible for all the data that we collect. And Juliana is down at the bottom of my screen. She does a lot of the data analytics and the systems implementations. So, welcome aboard. We do this call every day at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Eastern, and 7 p.m. We went a little bit over, so it went over into our meeting, but I thought it would be rude to not allow you to introduce yourself to, the people here who took up your time. That lady Sharon asked all these questions, had us going over, so it's her fault. We're going to blame it on her today. But if you have any questions for anybody that uses SpeakerHub or that's familiar with this, here's a quick time if you want to ask any questions. If what we teach works, you can ask whatever. I'll close my ears. And
No, I'm here just to learn a little bit, honestly. Like I said, it's my husband who is the speaker on stage. I'm a little bit more of the quiet one that is the operations but behind the scenes. But yeah, I just wanted to learn more about what you guys do, how you guys operate, a bit more how about almost like taking a little bit of responsibility off of me, and if that means that like you guys would be managing getting him on stages and stuff like that as well, and how that looks. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the easiest thing that we do is we help you to get on more stages using technology. So in the past, there was a human doing all the agency work. We've created AI that does it, right?
Wow.
But these guys have heard this like 1,000 times, so I'm not going to hold them. Guys, it was good seeing you all. I'll finish this conversation so you all don't have to hear about the flywheel for the 13th time today. But if you want to stay, you can stay. But, I think I covered our topic for the day. But